Pittsburgh Steelers are in possibly the most interesting quarterback battle that we have ever seen, and there are way too many outcomes to even count. The first quarterback is Russell Wilson, looking to resurrect his career from once being a star in Seattle. Now, back in 2022, Russell Wilson requested a trade to leave Seattle after his worst year as a Seahawk, but little did he know he would soon be headed to Denver, where he would practically be destined for failure. Seattle, in return for Wilson, got Drew Lock, Noah Fant, Shelby Harris, 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and a 5th-round pick, which was absolute highway robbery by Seattle. Russ headed to Denver under Nathaniel Hackett, where he had to do his best, throwing to guys like Jerry Jeudy and Courtland Sutton, but ultimately coming up short of the expectations that were placed on him. In Russ's first year in Denver, he threw for 3,500 passing yards, had 16 passing touchdowns and 11 interceptions, and finished as the quarterback 27 in the quarterback rankings, barely above Mac Jones. Now, last season, he improved slightly, putting up around 3,100 yards with 26 passing touchdowns and 8 interceptions, finishing as the quarterback 21 in the quarterback rankings. But Sean Payton took over coaching in 2023, which ultimately led Russ to being cut after the season and causing a $53 million dead cap money hit that the Broncos would have to pay, making it the highest dead cap hit in NFL history. To break that down, that is over 20% of the Broncos' salaries paid out to a quarterback who isn't even on their team this year. Now, after Russ was cut, he signed with the Steelers for a league minimum $1.21 million a year and is now in the battle for a starting position with quarterback Justin Fields. Now, Justin Fields is entering his 4th year in the NFL after being drafted in the 2021 draft that was slated as a generational quarterback draft, which we all know that turned out to be subpar at best. Fields is a dual-threat quarterback who is considered to be the number 2 quarterback prospect in the 2021 draft due to his raw athleticism and potential to pose as a potential Lamar Light. Fields saw struggles in his first seasons with the Bears, only playing 12 games and putting up 1,870 yards through the air with 7 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. He did add another 420 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground, but was disappointing regardless. In his second season, he played a full 15 games with only 2,200 yards and 17 touchdowns with 11 interceptions, but this was the season where he broke out as a rusher. Fields had over 1,100 yards rushing and 8 touchdowns on the ground, and essentially he would just take off as soon as his first and second read recovered. In 2023, he played only 13 games, but continued to develop as a passer with his best passing stats per game in his career and with the same rushing proficiency. But the Bears had the first overall pick thanks to the Panthers and chose to move off of Fields to sign the next slated generational prospect, Caleb Williams, to reset the quarterback clock. Now, this has left us all with the big question of, can Justin Fields take that next big step as a passer and fulfill that role for the Steelers, or will he even be able to beat out Russell Wilson for the quarterback 1 position? The Steelers have practically invested nothing into the 2 quarterbacks, and Tomlin has been very clear that they will start whoever they believe will give them the best chance to win. So far throughout the offseason, Russell Wilson has been slated as the quarterback 1, but that could all change very soon. On August 6th, Russell Wilson was reported to have suffered a calf strain and would take a step back for a couple weeks to slowly rehab it to prevent any worse injury. Now, this is the exact scenario that Justin Fields needed, where he can prove himself to the coaching staff and step into that position where the coaching has absolutely no choice but to start him. Fields has been slinging the ball accurately in training camp with the ones and has made this a super interesting storyline to follow. It's also not like this is a bad defense. The Steelers have great pass rushers and have been building an elite secondary too. Then it was announced that Fields would play in the Steelers' preseason game against the Texans, where Fields stepped up. He went 5 for 6 for 67 yards and looked pretty confident in the pocket, which is something that we have not seen from Fields throughout his career. He did have some of the same struggles that he has had previously by holding onto the ball too long and being hesitant to throw, but he made some pretty smart plays which ended up in plus yardage. Now, was this enough to make a case that Fields should be the starter? Well, no, definitely not. Both quarterbacks have legitimate cases, and it is really up to a matter of opinion. Russell Wilson could have just been plagued by Sean Wilson and the Broncos, and he really could have some components of prime Russ left in him, which would make this Steelers team legitimate contenders. But Russ could also be washed and not a big contributor to the Steelers. Now, on the other side, Fields could be unleashed with the best receiving weapons of his career with Pickens and potentially Brandon Aiyuk. But Fields could also be the frantic quarterback who still holds the ball for too long and makes poor decisions. Ultimately, the Steelers fans and coaching is hoping for at least one of the 2 quarterbacks to emerge and resurrect their career, thus turning the Steelers into an AFC powerhouse. But there is a scenario where both quarterbacks are terrible and the Steelers team sees yet another setback. Let me know down below what you think is going to happen with these 2 quarterbacks and who's going to get the starting job. And as always, if you like NFL content, make sure you go down and hit the subscribe button. We're going to be having weekly uploads, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where we can take this.